Hey, Scrappy people, it's Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with day 8 in my December daily, and today we are starting in Photoshop because I'm going to be adding some digital embellishments to this 6x8 photo that I'm going to use as a full page in my December daily. And right now I am making a text box by using the pen tool and clicking points around the outside edges of where I want my text box to be. I then use the direct selection tool to adjust it, and now I'm going to use my text tool and I'm just going to click inside the shape that I made, and I'm going to add in some placeholder text for the moment until I get this layout settled the way that I want it to be, and then I will add in my real text. So this is a cut file from Citrus Twist Kits. I'm going to be using the Citrus Twist Merry and Bright collection from last year, plus some of their cut files that I have. And I turned it into a stamp by selecting around it and then going to Edit, Define Stamp, or Define Brush Preset. And you can see I'm making it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to start working around it, and I'm actually going to color it in as well, doing some fun digital work today with these digital files from Citrus Twist. I'm going to use this Holly and Jolly as well as my title, or part of my title. And initially I liked the sort of black and white vibe of this spread, but I'm going to add in some color as well in just a minute. So obviously this page is about our wrapping paper this year, and our wrapping paper this year is of course Harry Potter themed. My mom bought this when she was making our tree skirt. Of course there was not nearly enough because the themed wrapping paper rolls are never big enough, but this was where I started, and then I added in some more neutral paper as well. So you can see I'm just adjusting my text box here by dragging the points up with the direct selection tool, and that is, you know, cutting off text. It's not a big deal. I'm going to replace that text anyway. I just want to see how the text works around these stamps. So I added a point with the add point tool, and then I moved it and adjusted it so that it works its way around those presents. Then I left aligned it so that it would slide right along the edges of those presents. So now I'm going to use these, they are printables, but they came out like stamps. There's no white edges, so I'm going to add in some white borders by adding a white stroke to the outside so that it matches the Holly Jolly words, which also have a white stroke around the outside. And then I'm going to add in some digital shadows. I'm going to do that with the Holly Jolly as well. You can see that there's just a lot of fussing around when it comes to digital scrapbooking because you can move things over and over and over again. You do. So I'm going to add in, my initial title was going to say Holly Jolly Hogwarts Wrap, but it doesn't quite fit in the end how I want it to, so I do change it. But this is where we're going to start. And I'm going to start building, or I'm going to start coloring in these presents with the paint bucket tool, and I'm just selecting colors from the stamps that I pulled in. And I'm going to adjust these a little bit later. They're a little bit too dark, so I'm going to use lighter versions of the same color. I'm going in with my brush tool and just going around the edges of things, making sure that it's completely filled in. Going to add in my stroke, rasterize it, and then add in my drop shadow so that it matches everything else. Then I'm going to start adding in a couple of embellishments. So initially I was going to use both of these circles, but there's only two, and I wanted a third one. So what I decided to do instead is to use just the Christmas tree, and I'm going to duplicate it and recolor it a couple times. So I'm going to recolor it green to match this green 3 down here. I just used a color fill, and then I set it to color, and then I needed it to be darker, so I duplicated it and then set it to multiply and then reduce the opacity till it was about the right color. Then I'm going to merge it all together so that everything moves together. Then I'm going to do the same thing again, but with red, so that I have one at the top as well. You can see that I put the green tree on the red and the yellow tree on the green, and so then the red tree is going to go on the yellow. So I'm just repeating the process with the red. and then creating little clusters that I can build on top of when I print this page, which I'm about to. I'm going to have to adjust the title a little bit, as well as add in my actual journaling. So that's what I'm going to do first. Adjust the text box again so that it goes around that present. And I'm also going to add in a number. I'm going to add in a couple of things from the Candy Coated Christmas collection. The first being Under the Tree, a digital stamp from the Candy Coated Christmas collection. And then once I add in that Under the Tree, I'm going to change the title a little bit here in a second. Then I'm also going to add in this Rubber 8 from the digital kit. And I'm going to adjust the color a little bit so that it matches the 8 or the red in the Citrus Twist collection that I'm using. Just trying to get this aligned right so that it makes a decent cluster visually. And when I do that, you can see that there's like some trapped white space between Holly Jolly and the 8. So I'm trying to rearrange so that there's no white space, but that doesn't work out so well. I'm going to adjust the brightness of this so that it matches. Alright, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to change the title, and I'm going to change it to Holly Jolly Hogwarts Under the Tree. So I'm just going to get rid of that wrap instead here in a second when I decide. Alright, so just make it Hogwarts. Thought about adding wrap down there, but it looks clunky and clustered together wrong. So instead I'm just going to delete it and put that under the tree instead. There we go. That looks better. And now it is ready to print and go into the real world. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to add in some real world embellishments. So now I'm going to pull in some of my Citrus Twist goodies. I'm going to use some enamel dots to finish off the clusters around the numbers. I'm going to use red at this bottom one, and then yellow with the red and green cluster, and then green with the red and yellow cluster. Following that pattern, grouping colors together. Now all 3 colors are represented in all 3 clusters. And then the last thing that I'm going to do, the second to last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some of the chipboard stars. And then once I get those added, I'm going to add in a word bit and call it good. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed, and there is a link to this blog post in the description box below. All right, thank you.